So you found the skeleton. How would you tell it was dinosaurs? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on this.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back. I'm going to be culturally sensitive to all the Team GIF people today and say this is Gish with Vish. You know, gotta make sure that I don't use my GIF hegemonic influence too heavily.
I gotta go, everybody. It was nice seeing you. Have a good weekend.
All right, Vishanti, how are you today?
Well, you'll occasionally hear the sound of a buzzsaw going in the background because my kitchen's being remodeled and I can't use it. This is now the second weekend in a row.
Oh, wow.
I cannot use my own kitchen
That's
to
fun.
eat hot food. I am very, very over it.
You're going to have a lot more charcuterie boards, you know? No hot food required there. Cheese, meats, crackers, maybe some fruit.
Yeah. I'm over it.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you're still doing well, given that you don't have a kitchen at the moment.
I mean, that's where I basically spent all day last week at the movie theater. So I saw Barbenheimer, and that was good.
Nice.
I enjoyed both of those movies. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard good things about both of them, although I'm still extremely hesitant to go to the movie theater. It's just so expensive versus what I get. And
hey, I got to see a matinee for like $11.
That's not bad. You want to know the last time I was in a movie theater? You remember it. It was Evil Dead Rise.
Oh, yeah.
It was Evil Dead Rise.
Oh, yeah, Evil Dead Rise. Oh, yeah. That's great.
You were right there.
That's great.
It was my first time in a movie theater in like 2 years.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
hey! It's been 117 days!
It has been. So Sal has been refusing to make good on his word and watch the John Sanford video series for 117 days now. And also, because it has come up in the chat, and there is a difference, we are now back on the Sal's Bitchmade timer because Beethoven now has his car back. It is driving better than it has in years. And I want to say thank you very much, everybody. We raised... So the final bill, which, by the way, Beethoven is going to be uploading a version of the bill with his identifying information blurred out, so you can't go, like, find his car or anything. But the total bill was $4,200, and we raised $3,768. So that was a steep benefit for Beethoven. And we also, DM Mitochondria-based Natural Medicine Wing, who's been a member for 14 months and is at the Amulette level, says, Godzilla, wasn't episode 5 the Gish Strikes Back? Yeah, well, this way I get to use a few of the different Star Wars names in a row, rather than just starting in the middle. But also, since there was a Godzilla, we'll take a drink. And Inkboy for €2 says, Happy Kirch Bridge Smoke Day, everyone. Happy that to you too. Alright, so, we are mostly not here to talk about cars, or the correct way to pronounce GIFF, or anything like that.
It's not even spelled with 2 Fs.
Oh, you're right. I'm thinking of the D&D race that is spelled with 2 Fs. Well, there's also a D&D species that's GIFF. They're hippo people who really love explosions.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, hippos, I can believe it.
Yeah. So they're... Like, in the original Spelljammer setting, they couldn't actually be of any class that could cast spells, but they had all sorts of bonuses to working with, like, black powder firearms and explosives. So, yeah.
Right on.
And for $2 says, Goop23 says, Happy World Elephant Day. Well, awesome. Happy World Elephant Day.
My favorite elephant video is a guy playing didgeridoo for a bunch of elephants, and they are just loving it.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
At one point, he lifts the didgeridoo, and they start to, like, trumpet at him, and they raise their trunks, and it's like... so good.
DM Mitochondria-based Natural Medicine Wing for $2 says, Star Wars is properly started in the middle with a bunch of thinky emojis. Yeah, yeah, I generally say that the best order to watch Star Wars, and I think, is 4, 5, 3, 6, and then just leave it at that. So you watch 4 and 5, right? And then we have a little flashback for 3. And we find out a little bit about the background story, so that way the emotional stuff in 6 maybe has a little bit more weight. And then you just leave it at that. You don't watch 1 and 2. You don't watch the sequel trilogy. You just watch 4, 5, 3, 6.
I don't care. I don't care about Star Wars, so
That's fine.
you could like just pull numbers out of a hat and I'd be like, all right, whatever.
The South Geek Unofficial for €5 says, now that Ben's car is fixed, maybe we can get Dapper that audio booth. GoFundMe? Also, lovely to see Vishanti again. So I don't want to start another GoFundMe that this channel is going to promote quite so soon. But I do think that that's a realistic possibility that we could get the recording booth as a GoFundMe here in a month or two. Because, yeah, I don't want to... We already spent a good month and a half or so, or not a month and a half, but a good month or so.
I mean, we need some time off.
Yeah, so.
Also, I finally, thank you, Dr. Josh Bowen.
Yes.
I can't...
It says it. We can see it. Did the Old Testament endorse slavery?
This is a brick.
Yeah.
Y'all. This is like 650, 670 pages.
And we read the preprint manuscript, didn't we? Or at least for the first half.
Yes. Yes. This is a beast, and I, along with Dapper, I did some editing work on it, and my copy came in, and I'm very pleased. It is hefty. It is well worth the money. It is a one-stop shop for anything ancient Near East slavery related. It has a copy of the biblical text and discussion, and then Dr. Josh actually translated a lot of the other ancient Near Eastern slavery laws, so you can reference all of them right here in this very book.
Mm-hmm.
So I highly recommend it.
All right. So now we're here to talk primarily about one Dwayne Gish, who was at one point one of the bright shining stars of young Earth creationism. Back when it was first really coming about as its own separate movement within Christianity that wasn't just like a weird thing Seventh-day Adventists did sometimes. And in order to facilitate both my sanity as well as everyone's enjoyment, today we're doing the drinking rules. So, if Dwayne Gish says something that's just too stupid, and we kind of have to drink to cool our brains down, take a drink. If Dwayne Gish gets something right, then we will take a drink, but it actually has to come out of his head, and it can't be something he just read off of a source or something. Now, we are making some allowances for the fact that this talk was given sometime, I believe, in the 1980s. So, if he says something that would have been a reasonably correct statement in the 1980s, like, oh, I don't know, like, you know, we only have so many species of tyrannosaurid dinosaurs that we found, and that was a reasonable estimate in the 1980s, we'll count that, right? Because I'm not going to hold him to the standard of a time traveler, because that's not fair. Right? He's not the Doctor or something. Okay. Now, if Dwayne Gish uses a source that directly contradicts him, right, not just fails to support him, but directly contradicts him, that's a Trojan source, and we take a drink for the Trojan source. If he brings up the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or their various, well, historically significant, I don't think that anyone can argue it wasn't historically significant, and any of their historically significant activities, or prominent members or leaders, from, say, like, you know, the first half of the 20th century, we'll take a drink. If he is about to say something, we're not sure what it's going to be, but either Vishanti or I can guess, and we guess right, we take a drink. Also, if Gish tells a joke that doesn't land, or a story that didn't happen, we take a drink. Now, with the story that didn't happen, it's a bit of a judgment call. But sometimes it's like, yeah, this sounds like it was fresh off the pages of r/that happened. Almost up to the point where, like, sometimes it'll be like, and then everyone in the airplane stood up and clapped. Like, yeah.
Clapped,
yeah, okay, sure. That's a thing that really happened. Mark Smith, who's been a member for 7 months, says, let's get the drink started with a Mothra and a Godzilla, so we'll take a drink for that. Yes. that brings me to the point where you guys can trigger some drinks. So, we will take a drink for every membership that is gifted to the channel. And I know that people like to ask me, hey, when do we get another emoji? Last time I checked, we're about 150 away, so good luck, everybody.
Yeah.
We could totally get there if people want to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Also, if we go past like 30, it's just finish your drink, go get another one. We'll add that number. We will also drink if anyone super chats or milestone chats anything to the effect that AIG are a bag of dicks. Now that is because of their near constant copyright trolling. In fact, I have a video series based on an an AIG talk by Bodhi Hodge that's currently going up on my channel. I'm fully expecting it to get copyright claimed. It hasn't yet, but it usually takes them a few weeks to a month. So, yeah, that's fun.
It's a good thing you're so far ahead. You have time to appeal it and all that.
That's actually one of the reasons that I do try to stay pretty far ahead, is that I can try to get rid of any kind of copyright disputes before it actually goes public, so that they don't affect me too much in the algorithm. And if anyone super chats or membership milestone chats anything that has any of the kaiju emojis, we'll take a drink for that. And also, sometimes the kaiju can come by audibly. Now, I may have forgotten a drink trigger or two. If I did, I'm sure I'll remember them when they come up. Vishanti, are you ready for more Dwayne Gish?
Well, I have my THC vape pen, so I'm as ready as I'm going to be.
Okay. All right, here we go.
If evolution is true. On the other hand, if creation is true, we'd expect each...
Oh, by the way, we're talking about flight and the evolution of flight. Mark Smith...
yeah, that's where
Yeah, Mark Smith for $2 says, AIG is a rucksack of Richard Richardsons. Nice. Take a drink for that.
Good.
One of these flying creatures to appear as flying creatures, with no evidence, you see, that they had gradually evolved from some land animal. Well, we want to take a look, first of all, at the flying insect.
Now, there's a specific reason he's starting with flying insects, right? And it's that of the 4 flying lineages, they have by far the least well-documented transition from non-flying to flying members.
I wonder why that is.
I mean, a big part of it is just that they were small. I mean, our fossil record for the early evolution of insects is down to like a few mandibles here and there, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
So he is intentionally starting there. Whereas if he started with, say, birds, well, we'd be having a very, very different conversation.
A different conversation, yeah.
Yeah, because there's a whole lot of evidence that illustrates every single step along the way from going from absolutely no flight capacity to power flight in birds.
Oh, when you have a lot of really soft, thin, membranous parts, they don't preserve very well.
They don't,
often.
Yeah.
Here we see a dragonfly, one of the flying insects.
Actually, this looks like it's actually an illustration of a griffin fly. And the reason I say that is because griffin flies, which look a lot like dragonflies, but are an extinct carboniferous type of flying organism, didn't have this part of the wing on the forewing where it actually gets thicker and thereby darker. And this actually helps increase stability by reducing the amount that the wing flexes during its actual up and down strokes. But griffin flies lacked this. And this being an illustration, obviously, it's not a photograph, right? I think this is actually a photograph of a griffin fly. So I believe that Dwayne Gish here is lying to us already, or just doesn't know the difference. Pillowpunk for $5 says, it's genuinely kind of sad how little has changed in apologetics since this was recorded. Some bad arguments reasserted as if nobody debunked them. I mean, Dwayne Gish was famous for doing this within his own lifetime, right? So I know I've already told the story where basically some actual scientists came in, and some science educators, and demonstrated why his claim about the bombardier beetle, that it would blow itself up unless it was created fully involved, didn't make any sense, right? They mixed the hydroquinone and the hydrogen peroxide, into a beaker. They were all set up with safety gear, and it was behind this big, thick plexiglass thing, right? Because according to Dwayne Gish, this combination just spontaneously explodes unless an inhibitor enzyme is put in there. And so, you know, they're reaching around the plexiglass with their big, heavy rubber gloves to protect them from the explosion and whatnot. They pour these chemicals in together and they retreat quickly to make sure that everyone's safe and whatnot. And then, of course, the mixture just smells bad and turns brown and gets slightly warmer, because that's what actually happens when you mix those two chemicals together. And then Dwayne Gish never dropped that talking point. He just continued on, after admitting in that demonstration that he must have gotten it wrong how the bombardier beetle works. Didn't matter. Because how were people going to check up? There was no Google.
Yeah.
So
That's very similar to what Kent Hovind does now, where he goes, oh yeah, I know the evolutionists don't like it when I say this, but I'll say it anyway because it makes them mad.
yeah, it's like, they don't say it because it's just obviously wrong and everyone can tell, but okay.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Evolutionists believe that the dragonflies evolved, perhaps 400 million years ago.
Okay. So, now I can't tell exactly what's being shown here because it's too low res. But, it is true that griffin flies split off from their common ancestor with Odonata before griffin flies appear, obviously, right? And Odonata, which is the group that includes, I believe it's dragonflies and damselflies, Hive Size here, so she'll be able to correct me if I'm wrong about this. Because, she's she's our resident arthropod expert. So griffin flies do share a common ancestor with Odonata, which includes the dragonflies. And so there were odonates around the same time that there were true griffin flies. But within Odonata, there's more than one group. It's not just dragonflies. And as far as I know, it's not clear exactly when dragonflies per se split off from the rest of Odonata. So
Per se?
Yeah, per se, one word, P-E-R-S-A-Y.
Per se, one word.
Yeah. Armando Calvo, he's actually a wordsmith is what's happening. He's really a wordsmith. He's creating whole new words for us.
What's the word for a word in French?
Mo. M-O-T. Mo.
Say again?
M-O-T. Mo.
So he's a Mofevre?
Actually, I'm not sure if the T would be pronounced there. Like, might be Montfèvre in that case.
Mofevre? Okay.
Yeah. French is weird with those consonants. They like to show up in the weirdest places sometimes.
Pronouncing them is optional. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Do you know what times? Nah.
You can get a pretty good intuitive sense if you read enough French and you hear like how it's pronounced. Eventually, you get to the point where it's like,
well,
if you see written French,
if you do, there will absolutely be a French speaker to pop up out of nowhere and correct you immediately.
Right. The weird thing with French is like, if you're familiar enough with how words sound in French versus how they're written, it's very rare that you'll come across a French word that's written in a way that doesn't tell you how it sounds. But if you've only heard a French word, there's going to be like 8 different ways that you could write a word that sounds like that, and you're not going to know which one to use. So it's... Yeah. Anyway, here we go.
And here we see one of the fossils of a dragonfly. This fossil is supposed to be 380 million years old, according to evolution. A fossil
Whoa. Does this count as big number, therefore God? Or no, this is more like big number, therefore not God.
Big numbers, therefore evolution.
dragonfly. Well, again, the dragonfly, and then the fossil. What do we have? We have a dragonfly.
See, I don't actually know if we do have a dragonfly there, because I don't trust... Look, okay. Creationists routinely confuse brachiopods with bivalves, right? And that's basically on the same level as, like, confusing an insect for a squid. Like, there's... Like, no. And so, I do not trust Dwayne Gish to be able to differentiate one of these griffin flies from an actual dragonfly. So I do not take it at his word that this is a dragonfly fossil.
You see essentially the same as the modern dragonfly. We found many fossils of...
Okay, so I've already pointed out that there's one difference, right, with the wings. There are a few other. For instance, griffin flies had cerci at the end of their abdomen, which are sort of like butt antennae. They're sensory organs that come out...
Butt antennae!
Exactly. They're sensory organs that project from the rear of certain relatively basal insects. They're very prominent on things like silverfish and, dermopterans, the earwigs and their allies. You know, they have those little pinchers. the end of their butt. You can
Little
usually
beach.
Yeah, you can usually tell if they're male or female because the males will have gnarly, robust pinchers, and the females will tend to have slender, relatively straight pinchers. Yeah, those pinchers are actually heavily modified cerci. And you can also see cerci in crickets. So you can quickly tell if a cricket is male or female because a male cricket will just have 2 cerci, and a female cricket will have 2 cerci and a ovipositor. So it'll have 3 little projecti-outy bits at the end. Yeah.
Projecti-outy bits is a lot easier for people like me who are very not familiar with this terminology.
Yeah.
Also, butt antennae.
Yes. So yeah, I don't trust that Dwayne Gish could tell us reliably whether or not an animal is a dragonfly or a griffinfly. Now, to be fair, I would need certain parts of the anatomy. I couldn't just do it from anything. Like if you were like, this is the leg of some kind of insect, I'd be like, well, I don't know. But if I had like, the wings and the abdomen of a griffinfly versus dragonfly, then I could tell you.
Flying insects in the fossil record, sometimes very nearly perfectly preserved. Then we find fossils of the non-flying insects.
Interestingly, ants are not entirely flightless. There are alate ants, which is that just means flighted ants, and they are the males and the new queens, so they are the reproductive ants. But also, isn't this itself a transitional ant? I feel like I remember this one, and I can't think of the name of it for the life of me.
My brain, I'm just hearing Michael Douglas and Paul Rudd going, ants! 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 And I'm not a serious person.
Oh, and we have a new super chat. Yeah, this is Sphecomirma, so we're going to talk about that in a second. Savage Chicxulub, the Coelophysis Slayer Cobra, says, goodness. A sackborn set of schmeckles is said to be synonymous with AIG. Thank you very much. We'll take a drink. Yeah, so ironically, this is Sphecomirma. Now, the cool thing about Sphecomirma is that it is itself a transitional species between basal wasps and actual ants, because the thing is, wasp is a big, broad category, and we basically make carve-outs in the group of wasps. We're like, well, these wasps are bees. Ants are just a different kind of wasp. They're mostly flightless, eusocial wasps. And in fact, many ant species still have stingers. You ever hear of bullet ants? Yeah, they're called that because apparently they feel like getting shot when they sting you. But they're not biting you, they're stinging you with stingers. Because ants are wasps.
I grew up around fire ants, and it did something to my psyche as a child, okay?
Yeah.
Those things are little demon spawn.
So, some of the things that are relatively primitive in this particular ant include things like it has mandibles that are somewhat more wasp-like than most ants. It also has very wasp-like antennae, very much unlike ant antennae. It also has a trunk-like division in its abdomen, which most ants have lost, but is present in many wasps. So you can see where, like, you have the anterior 2 pairs of leg, and then there's a gap where the abdomen narrows. That's a waist. And then you get the anterior most set of legs, the front set of legs.
Waist cinched to the gods.
Mm-hmm. And also, you can see at the very end, there's an extrudable stinger, which is only found in some of the more basal ants.
I'm sorry, I have to do this in chat, because John Smith is saying, hey, if there's fire ants, there must also be water ants, air ants, earth ants, and of course the antvatar.
Yes, this is...
So, well done.
Yeah. Now, in fact, you know how creationists like to complain that evolution doesn't really make testable predictions, right? Because it's always just so stories about the past. Here's the thing. On the basis of both morphological evidence and genetics, ants were known to have probably evolved from inside the wasp group, right? And a hypothetical ant-wasp transitional forms were predicted by evolution. And they looked almost identical to Sphecomirma when it was found. So in showing us this animal, Dwayne Gish is showing us one of the transitional species that he is trying to argue don't exist. Now, it's not a transition between non-flight and flight. It's actually a transition the other way around, because ants are losing their ability to fly. But yeah, I just find it strangely amusing that the ant he picks is literally Sphecomirma, the most transitional ant of all the ants fossils.
Here's a fossil ant captured in amber, supposedly several tens of millions of years old. And what is he? He's an ant.
Except it's got all those wasp features, buddy. Yeah.
Like, if you had told me, hey, Vishanti, if there were wings on this, what would you call it? I would probably say something like a so.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about arthropods or insects other than I prefer to avoid them whenever possible and just let them live their life far away from me.
You see.
I recognize and respect their place in the food chain, and I just don't need to see it.
You don't want to have any cricket burgers?
Well, I'm good.
Oh, okay.
Found fossils of many other non-flying insects. They found fossils of mites, spiders.
Which aren't insects, and no arachnids have wings.
Aren't insects. I know that much.
I'm taking a drink for like, where are the winged spiders and mites? I don't know, man.
No, stop! It's cursed.
Oh man, actually, what is it? There's a Bibloridian, is a YouTube channel, and he has this world building project that's mostly there for like as an excuse for his conlangs to have a setting. He definitely has winged spiders in his setting.
Oh, nope, 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 no, 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 no.
Yep. Oh, by the way, we're almost at the half-hour point, and I'm noticing that we don't even have half as many likes as we have viewers, which means, of course, that unfortunately I am forced to say that I like less than half of you half as well as you deserve.
We got Bilbo'd.
You got Bilbo'd. Let's get those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers. And the South Geek 2 Pelagic Boogaloo official says for €2, jokes on us, Gish is his own Trojan source. You know what? I will take a drink for Trojan source in Gish referencing himself, debunking himself.
Absolutely good.
Yeah, that's pretty great. Okay, here we go.
Daddy Longlegs.
Not only not a spider, still not an insect. Well, okay, there's two versions of the daddy longlegs, right? There's one that is a spider, but the one that I grew up calling a daddy longlegs is in fact not a spider, it's a harvestman. So, whatever.
Centipedes and things like that.
Again, myriapods, not insects. There are no flying myriapods.
And these scientists said they were, and they're
literally, this is like complaining about like we don't have fossils of birds evolving flight, and then saying, look at all these kangaroo fossils. Look over there, it's a lizard. And it's like, yeah. It's like, how come we don't have them with growing wings? And it's like, well, because you're trying to talk about birds, not kangaroos or lizards. What are you doing? It's like we don't have a whole lot of fossils of, I don't know, winged clams leading up to winged insects either. Like, why should
clams can fly underwater? Haven't you seen SpongeBob?
Well, I mean, they can swim, so yeah.
No, I said fly. They flap. They literally flap.
Okay, fair. Gish likes arachnids, says Robert Madewell. I mean, look, I like arachnids. In fact, he skipped over some of my favorite arachnids, like whip scorpions, or pseudoscorpions, or tailless whip scorpions. Vishanti, you realize there's probably over 1,000 pseudoscorpions in your room right now?
We'll be right back. I have to go burn down my apartment.
Yeah, well, good luck seeing them. They're usually less than half a millimeter long.
I need to burn my apartment down.
Yeah, well, guess what's going to be one of the first things to move back in? Pseudoscorpions.
Just gonna kill it with fire. Yeah, gonna go live in a hermetically sealed hamster ball.
I noticed that despite the existence of eyebrow mites, that you haven't shaved off your eyebrows.
Are you trying to just send me to a sanitarium?
supposed to be about 350 million years old. And they said that those creatures were so perfectly preserved, it looks like they just died yesterday.
I mean, yeah, Amber's cool. Yep.
Well, frankly, I believe
Amber,
yesterday's
I don't
closer.
even know her.
to the truth in 350 million years. But nevertheless, they...
Okay, so because amber is good at preserving things, therefore the Earth is young, is an argument he just made. Taking a drink for how stupid that is. Yeah. The fact that very, very cool preservation mechanisms exist is not an argument in favor of the young Earth. That's just...
Okay, yeah. I just need the entire chat to stop because I will literally just go jump in a volcano.
You don't want to be aware of all the arthropods that live on, and around you?
Nope. No.
You know about fairy flies?
Hey, you know what I could do? I could go jump in a volcano.
You could. I think the nearest one is in Hawaii. Or at least the nearest active one.
I will make it work.
Okay.
Or I could just go, hey, I could follow the path of my ancestors. I could go find Popocatépetl and just be like, wee, and just yeet myself in.
You could follow the Frank Reynolds school of thought in which you shave all your hair and then slather yourself in hand sanitizer.
I don't know, it'd kind of dry me out though.
Well, I mean, you can have moisturizer afterwards.
Yes.
Besides, I'm pretty sure that when they were actually filming it, that Danny DeVito didn't actually slather himself in hand sanitizer. It was probably more like, personal lubricant.
Like, not like the lubricant and glitter that they used for the decon gel in Enterprise.
Yeah, no, not that.
So, nightmare.
They postulate that these fossil insects 350 million years old. And they found fossils.
Bree puts a good point out. Volcano crickets are a thing. Yeah, they are. There's a species of cricket whose specialized habitat is freshly solidified lava flows.
I gotta go.
There's nowhere to go. You literally can't escape the arthropods. They're everywhere. They're in the ocean. They're in the air. They're on your sheets.
They're on the moon.
Well, tardigrades at least are on the moon now. Thanks, Israel.
The rock spiders are on the moon. We've seen them.
It's true, yeah.
Hashtag lunar truth.
Apollo, was it 19?
18.
18? Well, that's because you don't even know about Apollo 19. It's even more secret. That's when they found the moon octopus.
God. No, that was Europa Report.
Good point.
Yeah.
Strawberry Artery official bootleg edition for $2 says, Gish looks like he just died yesterday. Oh, poor Gish.
Woo!
Cockroaches, believed to be more than 350 million years old, and they said they looked disgustingly similar to modern cockroaches.
Yeah, similar.
Disgustingly similar.
But not identical, you'll notice. Which is the point he's trying to make, is that evolution doesn't happen. Looking at all these living fossils, except, yeah, the mood is an egg confirmed.
And they found fossils of pseudoscorpions.
Like actual pseudoscorpions? Because I don't believe you.
Like actual pseudoscorpions?
Because
yeah.
I'm going to double check, like, fossil pseudoscorpion, because I don't think there are any fossil pseudoscorpions.
Savage, Eric Hoven's tie collection, Cobra, is asking you which mission discovered the deep space kraken.
Alright, so there are some pseudoscorpions preserved in amber, fair enough. Okay, cool. That's cool.
You guys are killing me with these nicknames.
I know, right? They're so good.
Amazing.
Now, pseudoscorpions are scorpions, or they look like.
Yeah, they're not scorpions, but he's about to correct himself. So.
Yeah, they're not. That's why
they don't have
they're
a stinger.
pseudo.
So,
in front of it.
Yeah, he's right. So they look like scorpions. They don't have a stinger. They're also very, very tiny. So, okay.
So they're called pseudoscorpion. We have many species of pseudoscorpions today, and previously in the fossil record, they'd found fossils of pseudoscorpions they believed to be about 35 million years old. That's their claim.
I mean, that's like the middle of the Cenozoic. Okay, sure. That seems reasonable. I mean, that's about when we start getting a lot of other fossils, too, because pseudoscorpions being so tiny, they're pretty hard to find in the fossil record. It's also around the time that we start getting things like rotifers in the fossil record. Like, we don't have any Paleozoic or Mesozoic rotifers, but, like, pretty sure rotifers evolved in the Cambrian because of how distantly related they are to their closest non-rotifer relatives.
Recently, they found fossils of pseudoscorpions they believe to be 390 million years old.
That that sounds like a little bit on the extreme side, but you got to remember that what we're talking about with pseudoscorpions is like an entire group like scorpions or spiders, right? These are very, very deep divisions within arachnida that go back well into the Paleozoic. So this isn't like talking about like... Sorry.
I know that it's been a minute, but what is his point? That we find stuff, therefore Earth young?
Well, he's still trying to talk about flying insects, and I think he's just going to talk about the fact that none of these have any indication that they're flying, even though, I mean, pseudoscorpions aren't insects, they're arachnids.
But again, is his point no transitional fossils, or is his point stuff doesn't change, therefore Earth young?
I think it's both. So Gish was a civil and hydrodynamic engineer, if I remember correctly. And he wrote some engineering textbooks within those fields that were well regarded. And as far as I know, those are his only credentials, which are not nothing. I mean, you know, it's not like just anyone can just slap a book together and be like, this is my civil engineering book, and then actually have civil engineers study and use it successfully. So, I mean, that did require some actual brain power and some ability to, you know, think critically and whatnot. But he does not have any biology or geology or astrophysics degrees of any kind or credentials, nor is it very likely that he ever studied any of those things, based on how bad he is at all of them.
It is, as they say, outside of his field of expertise.
Yeah.
And they were remarkably similar to modern pseudoscorpions.
I don't even know what that means, right? What does it mean? What is the amount of similarity between a fossil pseudoscorpion and a living pseudoscorpion that becomes remarkable? Oh, and yeah, Housai points out that roaches hadn't even split off from mantises before the Mesozoic. Cockroaches are late Jurassic, so he was definitely wrong about the cockroaches being from, like, the Carboniferous or anything like that. Yeah. So thank you very much, Bree. Because that's one of the things, right? So first of all, evolution does not predict a particular amount of morphological change in a certain amount of geological time, right? So evolution doesn't say like, oh, you have to change your body proportions by at least 18% over the course of every 20 million years, or you're just not evolving. That's not a thing. There's this thing called stabilizing selection, right? Where you are at a relative fitness peak in terms of the fitness landscape, so any significant morphological deviation from that is a reduction in fitness, which means that if that particular, you know, fitness landscape persists for long enough, you will continue to be morphologically conservative as a lineage for as long as the fitness landscape is like that. And pseudoscorpions are highly successful, tiny little predators of even tinier little arthropods, right? Like they eat springtails and tiny, tiny insects like fairy flies and whatnot. And they're really, really good at it. And they're really good at making more of themselves while maintaining that anatomy that keeps them really good at it. So why would you expect vast changes? So...
reasons.
Yeah. And of course, the very fact that you can identify them as pseudoscorpions just means that they're similar enough to pseudoscorpions that you can identify them as such. So of course, they look like modern pseudoscorpions. Otherwise, you'd have called them something else.
And some of these creatures, some of these fossils, the most delicate structures were preserved. Spinnerets on
Pseudoscorpions don't have spinnerets, but okay.
the spiders and things like that.
Oh, he said spiders, fire.
Preserved there in the fossils. It's hard to imagine how anything could be preserved for more than 300 million years.
Dude.
Ever edited that clip? I hate you.
But dude, you already said it yourself there, Dwayne. Amber. And in fact, all the fossil pseudoscorpions I could find, and I happen to know that a lot of the fossil spiders that are out there are preserved in amber. Because once amber hardens, if it's underground, that's it. It's not going anywhere. Oh, it was Gish that was a biochemist, and Harry Morris was the hydraulic engineer. Oh, sorry about that, James Duncan. I guess I got that one mixed up. I guess he was a biochemist, which makes this even worse, given that he was the one who was talking about the bombardier beetle explosion, which isn't a thing that happens.
Oh my god.
Oh man, that makes this worse. Although he's still out of his topic here, or out of his expertise now.
That delicate, you see, but that's what they claim. Now, in other words, we have many fossils of non-flying insects.
And I spent a whole lot of time talking about things that aren't even non-flying insects. That are just arachnids. So I'm going to take a drink.
Yeah.
Because apparently Dwayne Gish doesn't know the difference between insect and arthropod, is what I'm getting from this. So, I wonder if he would know that a lobster isn't an insect. Like, I don't know, because lobsters are look, insects are a part of crustacea, and decapods, which includes like the shrimp and the true crabs and the lobsters. That's also part of crustacea, which makes them much closer to insects than spiders or centipedes or scorpions or anything like that. So, what do you think in the chat, guys? Do you think Gish could tell the difference between a lobster and an insect? Would he call a lobster an insect? Let me know. So I think he might.
We have many fossils of flying insects, but I'll tell you one thing we do not have is a fossil of an intermediate form.
Actually, in this case, he is right. The fossil record of insects does not include anything that seems like it is evolving wings. And we're not even sure what wings evolved from. So, one of the problems with wings is that they only appear on the last molt of the insect's life. So, until it finally reaches that adult last instar, you don't get wings at all. And then they seem to simply form underneath the exoskeleton in that last instar. And so it's not clear what features they are evolved from, so we don't even know exactly what a transitional flying insect would look like. It's actually one of the bigger mysteries in science right now, is how did flight evolve in insects? But again, I want to point out that he picked, as his first example, the group of animals with the least well-documented evolution of flight path. After this, bats and pterosaurs are similar, and then birds are way above either of them. Sorry, go ahead.
It's pretty well known that if science doesn't have something figured out while you're alive, then they'll never figure it out ever.
That's true. That is how it works.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, evolutionists argue among themselves, what is it on the non-flying insect that evolved into wings?
Oh, hey, that's what I just said. We'll take a drink for me getting that prediction right.
Nice. Yeah.
And you know what? We'll take a drink for him getting something right. That is a big argument. It's still a big argument.
Also, Jacques, keep in mind that there were clean and unclean animals on the Ark, not just clean ones.
Wait, does that mean that Noah took extra grasshoppers on the Ark? Grasshoppers are kosher.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, well, I guess bees as... Like, you're not supposed to eat the bee itself, but the honey is kosher.
And delicious.
Although, I guess, like, I don't know that anyone would have a super reliable way to just strain out every last little bee part. So, are bees as, like, the actual body of the insect, is that kosher?
No.
Well, then how do you make sure that you've strained all of it out of the honey? Especially in, like, the Iron Age.
Well, as with many things, there is a threshold of reasonable, like, cleanliness, and even, like, super strict orthodox will tell you, hey, we do what we can to keep all of the little insect bits out of the food, and even we know that you can't guarantee that 100%. Like, even when you're filtering water, there's, like, teeny tiny microscopic little thingies in there, so it's like, you just be reasonable.
Yeah. You probably can't guarantee that no little, like, flake of a pig skin ever hit anything that you ever ate.
Yeah.
Or,
exactly.
Or I also get, like, the, you get people who are, like, Muslims who don't drink alcohol, who are like, oh, well, this recipe used some alcohol, and then they'll, like, eat some bread. It's like, hey, you know what's in that bread?
Alcohol.
More alcohol than that sauce that was made with wine has.
Yeah.
Why do they quarrel? Why do they have the controversy? Because we have never found one single transitional form.
That's part of it. But there's also other stuff, right? Like, developmentally, it's not clear what other parts, and there have been suggestions, right? Like, maybe they're modified gills, because insect larvae frequently have gills. Or maybe they're, like, modified parts of the actual, just, like, the actual, like, carapace of the various segments of the abdomen, whatnot. Or not the abdomen, the thorax, that's the word. Yeah. And Bree points out that insects are the food of the future. They might well be, which, okay, sure. I'm sure someone will come up with some really good... Actually, you know what? I believe there are already some really good, like, grasshopper recipes.
In one of the papers on this
And
subject,
I'll be
the
okay as long as corn and soybeans exist. I don't necessarily see those no longer being a thing. So
Well, yeah, but I mean, you got to have a nice cheap protein. And grasshoppers. Actually, there was a French horror movie about someone raising locusts
peanuts.
as a locust farm, and I don't remember what it was called. I think it was called The Swarm or something in English, at least. It was pretty good. Savage, Eric Hoven's Tie Collection Cobra for $2 says, cue yodeling. Yeah, well, we could show the transition species slideshow. Although it actually won't have any transitional, like, insects that have partial wings, because, again, we're not even sure if we can identify that, and we don't seem to have any. So it is a remaining problem.
scientist said,
But yeah,
now,
beans are a good, cheap source of protein.
Yeah, but they're not as good as crickets.
They're still nutritious.
True.
this argument will have to be settled by the future discovery of some intermediate form. Not one intermediate has ever been found.
Yeah, but you could say that at various points in the past about all sorts of lineages that we now have extensive intermediate forms for. Like whales. When this was given, as I'm pretty sure, that we didn't really have any transitional whales. And now we have a whole bunch. Back in Darwin's day, we had like one transitional bird. Now we have a whole bunch.
Like I said, if science doesn't have it figured out when you are alive, they'll never have it figured out.
Yeah. And basically, so this is just Dwayne Gish complaining that, well, not everything about science has been figured out yet, so we should probably just get rid of the whole science thing.
Yep, it's all wrong. Just throw it out.
That's not a really good idea, because the thing is that science has always and will always have big unanswered questions. But sometimes we find answers to those questions. And usually, they're in line with previous predictions.
You have non-flying insects, you have flying insects, but not one single intermediate. Isn't that strange? Well, not strange at all, you see, if God created those creatures. But very strange, unexpected from the evolutionist point of view. Now,
That's
unexpected.
I'm not sure about
What?
that. Yeah, that's... evolution doesn't predict that we should have a known fossil at any given point for any given transition. The fact that there are transitional species at all is a problem for creation. The fact that there are some that are still missing is not, in fact, a problem on its own. Now, if we had never found any, that might start to be a problem.
evolutionists also believe, of course, that the flying reptiles evolved. On this slide,
Technically, that is true. That is what the evolutionists believe. Dwayne, not Gwayne. What am I talking about? I can't talk anymore. Okay.
we see Rhamphorhynchus. Rhamphorhynchus, as you see, had a
Rhamphorhynchus. How about Rhamphorhynchus? There's an N in there. Rhamphorhynchus, not Rhamphorhynchus. Dwayne.
long tail with a rudder. And note the fourth finger that supported the wing membrane.
Mm-hmm.
All flying reptiles had enormously long fourth fingers to which the wing membrane was attached.
Yep, that's true. We'll take a drink. Good job, Dwayne. You figured out the basics of how a pterosaur wing works. You did it.
Stretched between that fourth finger and the body of the reptile. Now, this particular flying reptile, you note, had teeth. He was a tooth.
Yeah, a Strawberry Artificial Bootleg Edition says, for $2, cue Dr. Banjo. Do I actually have that? I might have Dr. Banjo on here. Let me see what I have for a second here. Do I have Banjo? I do have Banjo. Here's Banjo.
I don't understand evolution, and I have to protect my kids from understanding it. We will not give in to the thinkers.
You people are as loud as you are ignorant. Now get back on your turnip trucks and go home. That is an insultingly accurate stereotype.
Let's skip to his actual Dr. Banjo.
Evolution is merely a theory, like
'Cause I don't
gravity
wanna
or
get
the
this
shape
far.
of the Earth.
Hey, Professor, I'm a flying
Creature from outer space!
Boy, Clunk!
Oh? If your elitist East Coast evolution is real, why has no one found the missing link between modern humans and ancient apes?
We did find it. It's called Homo erectus.
Then you have proven my case, sir. For no one has found the link between apes and this Homo erectus.
Yes, they have. It's called Homo habilis.
Aha! But no one has found the missing link between ape and the so.
All right, you guys get that? So, sorry. I would love to play the entire 2-minute clip, but I would less love to be in trouble with the current rights holders, which I think is Hulu or something, for Futurama. So, you know. Carrie Bronson for $20 says, I'm on the road today, so please pretend I said 4 clever and insightful things. Well, Carrie Bronson, those were all very clever and insightful things that you just said, so thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Although I do notice we're going to start getting farther and farther away from the next emoji. At one point we were only 50 away, now we're 150 away. Man. All right.
Reptile. This is Rhamphorhynchus. Now here we see another one of the flying reptiles. This is the Pteranodon.
That is... I hate that reconstruction. I'm taking a drink for how goofy that is. Wow. I don't want to go into all the details about that, but that is...
Don't know what I'm supposed to be looking at right now.
Yeah.
That sure is one of the drawings.
Mm-hmm. It's actually one of the drawings of the whole world.
In fact, it is.
Yeah, that's... Man.
The Pteranodon had a long, toothless beak. And in
True,
this
take a
case,
drink.
the 4th finger supported a wing spread up to 54 feet.
That sounds high, but I don't remember.
Now, that's longer than the F-4 Phantom jet. I don't know about you. I'm glad that critter is extinct.
Wow. Way to hate on Pteranodon.
Right? They're digging up your family members and eating them.
Ugh.
I wouldn't want one of those
That
things
was a
flying
deep
around
cut
today.
Can't Hovind joke.
Yeah, that's the roping.
But look at those creatures. Now, evolutionists believe that flying reptiles evolved from non-flying reptiles.
True again, Gish. We'll take a drink. You're once again correctly stating the basic claims of evolutionary biology, in that universal common descent is a thing.
Now let's try to imagine how this may have taken place. We have this ordinary reptile, and then he has a mutation.
What is an ordinary reptile?
Ordinary reptile, like what?
Yeah, that's like saying we have an ordinary mammal. Like, what does that mean? Are cats ordinary mammals? Because they have some really specialized aspects about them. Like, they have very complex inner ears. They have super complicated toes. I mean, they have weirdly flexible shoulders, but only in certain directions. I mean, is a muntjac an ordinary mammal? I mean, most mammals don't have hooves or weird sticky outy fangs. Like, what about a hippopotamus? Is that a normal mammal? Is that an average normal mammal? I mean, they're gigantic and they don't have much hair, but that's weird. Most mammals don't live in the water.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a water-dwelling murder horse.
Yeah, like, literally, what is an ordinary reptile? There's no answer to that. Yeah, do ordinary mammals ride bicycles? I mean, maybe humans are an ordinary mammal. I mean, I just hate this. So, what are pterosaurs supposed to have evolved from? Well, specifically, it's ornithodyrran archosaurs, right? So, archosaurs are the group of animals that includes the crocodilians and their relatives, and the dinosaurs and their relatives, including pterosaurs, right? And dinosaurs and pterosaurs are in this subgroup called Ornithodyra that has a particular ankle arrangement, and they making pterosaurs and dinosaurs more closely related to each other than either one is to, say, crocodiles. And all together, pterosaurs, dinosaurs, and crocodile-type animals are all more closely related to each other than they are to, say, lizards or snakes or sphenodonts, like the tuatara. So the pterosaurs would have evolved from something that would have looked like a basal ornithodyrran, which means it's probably going to be bipedal. It has arms instead of forelegs for its front limbs. So it's already not primarily using those arms as feet. It's already got an upright limb posture. And, importantly, our most basal ornithodyrans have all 5 fingers, rather than the reduced digits 4 and 5 on the hand that the most basal dinosaurs have, and then eventually just getting rid of digits 4 and 5 altogether. Savage. Eric Coven's tie collection cobra. Ooh, for $5 says this is a man that had an illustration of Quetzalcoatlus in his book with giant teeth and some random extra bones between the elbow and the shoulder. Ooh, yeah, I believe that. That sounds like something he would do. Yeah. I love it when people put teeth in Pteranodon, whose name means toothless wing. Like, the fact that it has no teeth is right there in the name. And then, what is it? Ark Survival Evolved is one of the biggest offenders on that. They have a big toothy grin for Pteranodon, and it's like, I wonder what the nodon part of that name means. Is it toothless? Is it toothless?
It's 2 words: Tyranno and Don.
Oh, so it's just this is a Tyranno that has teeth.
Yes,
got it. All right. So, by the way, we do have, in fact, a proto pterosaur. It's Scleromochlus. It is very basal, so it does not actually look a whole lot like a pterosaur, but numerous studies have confirmed that it is more closely related to pterosaurs than it is to dinosaurs. So it was taken out of the...
And John Smith is asking, wait, what? Pteranodon? Seriously? Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's... Pteranodon, yeah. It's a wing with no teeth. Yeah, and then there's Dimorphodon, which is the 2-shaped teeth. Dimorphodon. Yeah. Yeah, scientific names are actually not just like made up witchcraft. They're usually just Latin and Greek.
Mastodon.
Nipple tooth.
Nipple tooth.
Yep. All right, here we go.
Mutation, when the genetic accident makes his 4th finger just a wee bit longer.
I love how he's like, oh, just so a genetic accident makes his 4th finger longer. When, it's pretty uncontroversial that mutations can affect the proportions of your body, right? Like, people have proportion changes as a result of mutations.
Savage Cobra just linked the photo that is supposedly Quetzalcoatlus, and oh my goodness, it is bad.
Oh goodness.
It's bad. It's cursed. Oh, there's teeth. There's so many teeth.
Send it to me so I can put it up on screen.
It's in the Discord, but okay.
If I switch over to the Discord, it ruins the set because then I'll.
Okay, oh my god, there you go. So cursed.
Is that even supposed to be Pteranodon? Are we sure that's not supposed to be like a giant Rhamphorhynchus?
It's so bad. Look at the teeth. There's an extra shoulder bone.
So actually, let's take a look at this. Let's blow this up, and we're going to take a look at it full screen here. Give me a second, everybody. Turn that off. Okay, so this is the image that we are presented with. So I am going to actually go ahead and say that it does not have an extra bone. That, in fact, what you were looking at are the metacarpals that is forming that 3rd joint, and that is actually accurate. Most pterosaurs actually had very long metacarpals, which basically formed another joint in their arm. So that part is actually reasonable. Now,
attached to their main body, like their trunk.
Well, no, so you got a shoulder. Oh yeah, he does have an extra one over by the shoulder.
That's what I was saying. These don't work. It's not correct.
Goodness,
that's an abomination.
Yeah, no, I was ready to be generous, but now no, taking another.
No, I'm just like, you can't have the arm like that and then the wings separate. Like, no, none of this is no.
I will say I do appreciate just how Arizona this picture is. Because you've got the valley, you got the Monument Valley in the background, and you got saguaro and prickly pear and agave, and it's very, very nice. I appreciate that because this is probably from Tombstone, Arizona, which, by the way, it's a drawing of the. So there's this thing that goes around in creationist circles about the Tombstone, Arizona paper put out this thing about like cowboys finding a Pteranodon or a Pterosaur or something and shooting it, right? But also, Tombstone is not anywhere near Monument Valley. It's like those are not the same place. So,
Yeah, it's left shoulder. I can't. I cannot.
Yeah, no, I didn't even notice. I was looking at the right arm. Goodness. Yeah, we'll put the drink number up.
Oof.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. All right, here we go.
It's got
Now,
6
for some
limbs.
strange unknown reason, this confers survival value. So, in the struggle for existence,
What do you mean, strange unknown reason? There's lots of reasons why a longer finger might come in handy. Food acquisition, climbing. One of the biggest...
Changing TV stations.
Well, I don't think that, early pterosaurs were doing that, but maybe.
Look, you don't know they didn't have a thing longer.
It's true, they did not have a thing longer. But yeah, so there's a lot of reasons why having an extra long digit. Like, look at the eye, right? Famous for also having a ridiculously long digit. Why? Well, it uses it for food acquisition. Also, primates generally have very long fingers. Why? Well, they use it for climbing. And we know that many early pterosaurs were at least partially arboreal. So it's probably going to be an adaptation to better climb.
the reptile with slightly longer fourth fingers replaces the ordinary reptile.
Again, there's no such thing as an ordinary reptile. That's not a thing.
Ordinary reptile. Ah.
And now we have this reptile with slightly longer fingers. And then after thousands of years and a lot of bad mutations which are eliminated, we have another happy accident. Another good mutation makes these fingers get just a wee bit longer again. Struggle for existence.
I mean, that is probably a continual process if there's directional selection. It's not like you have to pause for a few thousand years, wait for another, 50% increase in finger length, and then you can continue on. Right? There are always going to be slight mutations that just extend the period in which that finger grows, right? And that's really all it is it's just sending the signals that tell a finger to stop growing later on in embryonic development. Because people seem to think like that there's a gene that just specifies how long a part of your body should be. It's not. What happens is that there are hormones that tell the cells that are forming that part of the body to keep growing. And then when they stop receiving that signal, they stop growing. Or at least they go back to sort of the isometric growth rate of the rest of your body. Pillowpunk says, drink for the only two created kinds. 1, flying insects. 2, everything else, Mothra. I like the late John Morse Pendleton's Kinds of Birds, which was, you've got the birds that don't fly at all, like ostriches and penguins. You got the birds that fly okay, like, and I don't remember exactly what it said, but it was like seagulls or sparrows or something. You got the birds that fly really well, like the osprey, and then you got eagles. So okay, those are the 4 kinds of birds. Good to know.
All right. Falcons everywhere. Am I a joke to you?
DM whales have evolved from cow's wing for $10. Oh, Sid. We'll have to catch the rest in reruns, so here's $10 to remind viewers that turtles are the best tetrapod. Thank you very much.
I like turtles.
Turtles are great. All right.
Eliminating the original.
Also, we should take a
and
break.
then thousands of years.
Oh, yeah, I apparently had myself muted in preparation for a break, and then I started explaining the break. We're going to go on a break soon. We'll be back soon. Bye, everybody. And we're back, and I remember to turn on the sound this time. Hooray! So, before we dive right back into this, I'm going to do my usual right back from break spiel. So, part of that is that this channel is in fact almost entirely supported by the viewers and the fans. And I want to make sure that this channel can go on indefinitely. And I'll be honest with you. Last couple months, been a little rough in both the algorithm as well as just how much came in. So if you would like to make sure that this channel keeps going, one of the most important things you can do is to support it directly. There are some great ways to do that, one of which is the Patreon, which is linked in the description. It starts at $1 a month. You can get a 12% discount by going annually. Gets you access to months and months worth of scripted response videos that are just instant in the catalog waiting to come out. Gives you access to the supporters-only Discord server where we have a great time. We have watch parties. Sometimes we get together and play games. There's a TTRPG room. There's a conlang room. There's a gaming room for computer gaming, stuff like that. It's a lot of fun there. I know that a lot of people have made new friends there, so that's a fun place to be. There's also the channel memberships, which give you access to the same early access stuff. There's a similar pricing plan, although it starts at $1.99 and there's no annual option. But there's a link below this video that says join channel. You can do that. Get you access to basically the same stuff. You can also get your name in the credits, things like that. If a monthly or annual pledge isn't what you want to do, but you still want to support the channel, there's a merch store linked in the description. And of course, there's super chats, buying other people memberships, things like that. Those are all greatly encouraged. In fact, also, buying memberships for people, gift memberships, is the quickest way to make that drink counter number go up. Because you buy 5 of those, and that's 5 drinks right off the bat. So, it is the most cost-effective way to get me under the table. But if monetary support isn't something you can or want to do, maybe you can't afford it, maybe you just don't feel comfortable doing it, please like these videos, share them with people you think will like them, put them out on your shitter account, your Blue Sky account, put them on Facebook, I guess, for grandma, I don't know. Like these videos, comment on them, stuff like that. It really helps out. Like I said, it's been a rough month and a half or so. So, because for some reason, YouTube's just been like, we don't really feel like promoting you that much anymore. And I was like, oh, gee, thanks. And you can tell because you'll get things like, oh, hey, this video has a higher click-through rate than normal, but fewer views than normal. It's like, I can tell what that means, YouTube. It means you're not showing it to as many people, even though of the people that you show it to, more than average are clicking watch on it. I can tell. It's not hard to figure out. Now, Strawberry Artery Official... What's the rest of the name? Goodness. Strawberry Artery Official Bootleg Edition. There it is. It's gifted 5 Dapper Diamonds for membership. They went to Vadim Slamovsky, Radchenko, Finn, Alex Merkel, My Unfinished Journey, and Cross Platform Adventure. Thank you very much. And we'll take 5 drinks. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, let's get back to...
Just one really long hit.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. Yeah. I don't want you to just, just have your eyes glaze over and then you fall unconscious right in the middle of hour 2.
Right. You get totally baked on stream.
Oh, that reminds me. I should mention that I am thinking about doing some collaborative stuff with another YouTuber who does conlang stuff. One that you know about. I don't want to spill the beans too early, because I'm not sure if that's actually happening. But I was just sitting around last night, waiting for some frames to come in from Sheepit, and I got a message on my Discord from a conlang YouTuber that I watch. And he was like, hey, you're on my Discord server. I was like, yep. It's like, oh, I watch your stuff. It's like, oh, really?
So cool.
So yeah, then we started chatting, and we're like, yeah, we could do some collab stuff about things like, Altaic, the idea that, basically all the non-Sino-Tibetan Asian languages, as well as some European languages, are actually all related. When, no, they're probably not. Or the idea that various things like Polish or Hungarian are actually the one true language of humanity that was spoken at the Tower of Babel. And all other languages descend from them. Yep. Yeah, so we might take a look at some of that together as a joint endeavor. All right, here we go.
Later, another happy accident. Fingers get longer and longer and longer and longer. Thousands of mutations, gradually through millions of years of time, makes the fingers
Yes.
get longer and longer and longer. Now, would you believe it? At the same time, other genetic accidents, these genetic mistakes that we call mutations, have created the wing membrane, the flight muscles, the hollow bone.
Okay, the flight muscles are all just regular muscles, right? Pterosaurs didn't have a whole bunch of extra muscles that other tetrapods don't, right? Their upstroke muscles are just the same muscles that you use to pull your arms back, right? Like if you ever do the thing where like you stretch by stretching your arms as far to either side as they'll go and pushing them back towards your back so you can feel your shoulder blades kind of pinch in. Yeah, you're using the same muscles that pterosaurs use for upstroke. You ever do the thing where like you stretch your arm by like you intertwine your fingers, right, and you put your like palms facing out, and you stretch, and sometimes it cracks the fingers, things like that. Yeah, to get your arms into that position, right, where they're pushing together, you're using the same muscles, yeah, that are used in the pterosaur downstroke. Also, Savage Eric Coven's tie collection, which, by the way, he at least in part more or less stole from his father, which is great, just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. They went to John Smith, Olivia Kaufman, Katina Packbees, Al Trucker, and Ember. So we will take 5 more drinks for that. Thank you very much. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So would Dapper co-host an episode of Skep Talk on the Line if asked? Erica will be in with Forrest next week. I think he mentioned Dapper last time. Really, Forrest mentioned me? Or do you mean that Erica mentioned me? Because I'll be very surprised if Forrest mentioned me. Much less so if Erica did. I don't have a particularly good reason why not. I mean, I do know that the line has a much heavier, say, atheist slant than my channel ever does. I don't run an atheist channel. So as long as, they understood that I don't ever go anywhere online to do, like, explicitly atheist content, theology stuff. Like, yeah. I don't care about trying to figure out your epistemological framework for believing in God. Like, I just don't care. As long as they were okay with having someone who's in that boat where, like, that particular topic is just not of interest. Not that it's... Okay, I want to be clear about this. It's not of interest to me doing things as Dapper Dinosaur that are part of that public-facing part of my life. In private, I do care about those things, and I do have my own opinions on them. But I do not intend to make those part of my public-facing persona, I guess, right? It's just like I don't tell you guys about my romantic life, right? Because it doesn't matter to anything I'm doing online as Dapper Dinosaur. So, yeah, that's why. So yeah, as long as they were, reasonably okay with things like that, then yeah, I would be on. I'd be okay with going on the line. I'm less interested in the ACA, the Atheist Community of Austin, primarily because they sent both me and Maddie around the same time emails talking about coming on, and they were like, oh, we're an atheist channel, but we don't have only atheist guests, and if you happen to be religious of some degree, that's fine too. And Maddie wrote back saying that in her response, she said that she was interested and that she was a Christian, and then they just ghosted her. And I'm not really okay with that. Because on the one hand, look, if you only accept atheists or non-religious people on, that's fine. Just don't lie about it. Right?
Yeah, don't lie about it.
Yeah. Like, I'm okay with the non-religious only club, right? In fact, at one point, someone asked me, like, how would you feel if a private company didn't hire Christians? And I was like, I think that would probably be a dumb move unless it's a particular type of company, but like, whatever. And then someone was like, oh, look, I'll bet you don't feel the same way now, because I had said something about, like, I think it's okay for, like, a religious company to not hire atheists if they're, like, an explicitly, like, this is a Christian company, we do Christian stuff. And they're like, oh, look, how do you feel about this tour group that doesn't allow Christians to join because they're a neo-pagan tour group of Scandinavia? And I was like, I'm okay with that.
Should want to join that anyway.
Yeah, why would you want to do the neo-pagan tour of Scandinavia as a Christian? Like, It's a weird thing.
Aren't most Christians like, they're evil, Satanists, devil worshiper, demons?
Yeah. So, anyway. Alright, here's more Gish.
And the case of the Pteranodon has converted an ordinary jaws and teeth into a long, toothless beak.
I love has converted as if losing teeth was some kind of extreme measure, and also growing keratin. You know, basically keratin grows all over your body. You know what hair is made of? It's just keratin. It's like, how could an animal grow keratin around its mouth and then not grow teeth? I don't know, man. That seems pretty easy to me, but okay. Like, you know, birds actually have
Dapper.
Yes.
But what if they don't let you onto their Christian Minecraft server? Asks John Smith.
Then I will go start my own Minecraft server with dinosaurs and hookers. And there you go. I don't know how that would work. I know there are mods for the dinosaurs, but I don't know how the hooker part would work. I'll just take it way too literally, and it's actually that you can hang people from meat hooks. And that's actually what's going on there. I'm going to mod for meat hooks as a way to trap people.
Now, imagine. Let us suppose we're about 25% along the way.
I don't even know what that means, but okay, sure.
And this creature has 25% wings.
Oh, you mean like a flying fox? Or not a flying fox, a flying squirrel? Or a flying frog? Or many...
I'm gonna start posting flings in the chat.
Yes, actually, this is a great opportunity for the fling emoji. Yes, please, everybody that can, post some fling emojis.
Well, obviously he can't fly.
Yeah, but he can glide. That's a pretty cool trick.
But he can't run any longer either.
I mean, pterosaurs evolved from bipedal animals, so it absolutely can run, so here's a drink for that. But also, do you know that pterosaurs with complete wings ran quadrupedally, as do modern vampire bats?
Ran on their little claw-looking thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, modern vampire bats can also run, and they have full-fledged wings. Now, as far as I know, they're the only bats that are known to run on the ground are vampire bats, but they can do it. Nothing along this process actually precludes using the forelimbs for locomotion, although, again, pterosaurs evolved from bipedal animals and only became quadrupedal after their wings got so bulky that they couldn't keep not using them to support their weight.
Run around dragging those worthless, useless appendages around.
Fun fact, the fourth digit actually folded up so that it was held more or less vertically and therefore was out of the way. Because, I don't know, Vishan, could you hold up a hand? Now, can you, like, curl your fingers? Whoa. So you're telling me that if you wanted to walk on some fingers but not on others, could you curl only some of your fingers? Like maybe the pinky and the ring finger? Just those two? Whoa, yep. Look at that. You did it. You demonstrated why this isn't a problem. Thanks. Thanks for having more fingers than I do.
Down there, he can't catch prey, he can't escape predators.
I mean, it can escape predators and catch prey because, again, this is not a problem for locomotion, but sure. You know, I'm just going to take a drink for Dwayne not even attempting to figure out how a half a wing or a quarter wing or whatever could work, despite the fact that the world is currently full of such animals right now. Ever hear of a sugar glider, Dwayne?
Oh, they're so cute, though.
They are. Or what about a Colugo? They're really cool as long as you only look at the top of them. You look at the bottom, and it's like, I feel like this is a body horror movie all of a sudden.
Oh, I agree with Skeletor over 9000, who says, I wonder if creationists who make this argument realize that birds can run.
Right? In fact, some of the fastest animals in the world are birds, in terms
of
running.
Birds, yeah.
Like, hey, why don't you try a foot race with an ostrich and see how that goes?
Good luck.
You'll lose.
What's going to happen? He's going to be eliminated, isn't he?
No.
You see, once the flying reptile is complete, he has wing membranes, flight muscles, and all these characteristics required to fly. He flies.
And before that, he glides. Cool.
But you see, no intermediate stage would ever survive.
As I just look around at a world full of intermediate flyers.
Full of gliding animals.
Right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Don't worry about that. Just
don't tell them about the snakes either.
Yeah, gliding snakes. gliding lizards. We have the Draco lizards that push out their ribs as like wing membranes, and it's freakish and cool. We've got flying squirrels that actually, and colugos that actually have the skin membrane going from their wrists to their ankles and still have the membrane between their toes. We've got Wallace's flying frogs that have skin membranes between their toes that they use to help glide. I mean, the world is literally full of transitions between non-flying and flying animals right now. Any of these animals.
Mark Smith says, I just looked up the sugar glider and, oh, it's so cute. I could go full on Elmira. I'm like, yeah.
They are adorable.
They're cute.
And like, yeah, any of these animals could at least hypothetically, maybe not the Draco lizard or the snake, but like most of the other ones, right, could lead to a lineage of powered flying animals. We don't know if any of them will, but they could.
And
Flying
as
fish.
a matter of fact,
That's another really good point. Yeah.
But yeah, they don't exist.
No, forget that.
even a trace of an ancestor has ever been found. Not
Until Scleromoculus, take a drink. Womp womp. Man, it sucks how he's basing this whole thing on a God of the Gaps kind of. It's like an anti-evolution of the gaps. If there are gaps, therefore evolution could not happen. Okay, but what happens when we fill in the gaps? Well, we go back to Dr. Banjo. Aha! Yeah. Now you see where is the intermediate link between this Tyrannosaur, or the Pterosaur, sorry, Tyrannosaur, this Pterosaur, and Scleromoculus. It's like, well, okay, we don't have that one. Things don't exist just because you believe in them. Thus saith the almighty creature in the sky. Thanks, Dwayne. Okay, cool.
even a trace. These flying reptiles appear abruptly just as you have seen them on the screen, as we see them in the slide.
But they don't, though. Like, Pteranodon is actually... Okay, first I'm going to read off these memberships. So, Ann Stevens has just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. Thank you very much. Those went to Lord Crocus Squirrel...
Tunicate!
Sessile Tunicates. God-fearing, hard-working Cecil Tunicates.
Not Dutch tunicates, pelagic tunicates.
These went to Lord Crocus Squirrel Gaming, Supercritical Snake, JT, Nasty Hobbits, and Ian Chen Official. So let's take some drinks. Here we go. 1, 2.
I got a bingo.
Nice.
Hooray.
3. 4. And 5.
A winner to me.
All right, here we go.
Complete from the start.
Oh, right, Pteranodon. Okay, so Pteranodons are part of this group of pterosaurs called monofenestrans, right? And this means that the anterorbital fenestra and the orbits, or not the outer orbits, the nasal openings, right? And the anterorbital fenestra actually end up as one opening. There's one ring of bone on either side of the skull. And they also lose their teeth. And these are things that we actually see happening as an evolutionary sequence going into the Cretaceous. In the Jurassic, most of the pterosaurs that we see are still toothy, they have long tails, they don't have beaks, and rather than being monofenestrans, they still have separate nares and anterorbital fenestrae. And we actually see the evolution of this, like we see animals that have a gap between the bone that separates the anterorbital fenestra from the nares, and then where we see later animals where like the teeth are smaller, and there's fewer of them, and there's more evidence of keratinization of the beak. And rather than having just a little gap, instead, they have little horizontal spurs that come down to partially separate the nares and the anterorbital fenestrae. And then eventually it just becomes a single loop where there's no little spurs or anything, and there's no teeth. And during that whole time, we also see the tail shortening. We also see different morphological changes to the feet because they were being used differently in those two different animals. We see differences in like the digits that aren't digit 4. So for instance, in Pteranodon lineage animals, we see further reduction of those digits to the point where in Nyctosaurus, it basically didn't grow its digits 1, 2, and 3. There were metacarpals that were thin, spindly bones, but basically only had the one finger, the digit 4. And this is a whole evolutionary sequence that we see in the fossils for pterosaurs. So even if you want to say that, oh, we don't have a great transition between Scleromoculus and our earliest pterosaurs, which is true, to say that, Pteranodon just pops out without any evolutionary history is just completely wrong, because we have evolution of pterosaurs within Pterosauria in the fossil record. It's not that hard to find.
But you see, if I don't want them to exist, then they don't. So
That's a good
that
point.
makes atheists.
Yes. Yeah. Fear a theist monger.
Atheist.
Athe-
Theist.
Freaking Armando Calva. Says, that's a nice description of solid examples of transitions, but have you considered nuh-uh? I had not considered nuh-uh. And you make a very solid point there. All right, here we go.
That is powerful, positive evidence for creation.
I like that.
It's not.
It's
but
powerful.
okay.
I just like how he said it, though.
Dwayne.
Powerful. Like, where are you from, Dwayne? Because you don't have that much of a southern drawl, but then you said powerful. I was like, oh.
I mean, I've been hearing, like, draws pretty much throughout this whole thing, like when he's pronouncing some of these names and when he's
but it's not super
slurring some of his words.
Well, but it's not super strong, in my opinion, at least, except right there. That was like, oh.
I can hear it, but that's
fair.
probably just because of where I grew up.
Yeah.
And absolutely contradictory to evolution theory. Now...
Oh, yay, we're going to get to bat. Of course, he's saving birds for last, right? The area where he has the least leg to stand on. We're going to save that for last. In fact, I would not be surprised if he skipped over birds. Which, don't worry, we won't. We will not be skipping over birds.
Wasn't Dwayne Gish from Kansas or something? So
I don't know. Robert Mabel says he's from Kansas.
Yes, he's from Kansas.
Mm.
He's from White City, Kansas. Wow. That's a little on the nose.
Lord Crocus World Gaming, who's been a member for 1 month and is at the ambient level, has far too much confidence in my ability to read Japanese. I'm going to, however, say that since there's an AIG in there, it probably says that AIG are a bag of dicks. But also, there's a Mothra. So either way, we're taking a drink. Guys, I don't know very much Japanese, and by very much, I mean, I can't read Japanese at all, and I can say a few words. And I have an approximation of the basic grammar that's kind of, like, stuck into my brain. Mostly because the grammar's not that crazy.
The same case in the case of the bat. A bat is a flying mammal.
Please.
He's right. Bats are flying mammals. Take a drink, everybody. He got it right. Apparently, it roughly translates that they are a pathetic group of deadly, rotten assassins. That's okay. Not sure how that connects to Bag of Dicks, but hey, we'll go for it.
AIG, Lord Crocus World Gaming tried to make it say AIG is a pathetic pack of ponderous, putrid pricks.
Oh. Alright. Was it a Google Translate job? Because it's always
Possibly.
a little... Translating between English and Japanese is always tricky for Google Translate. It's always one of those languages
good old
where it's
English.
like,
English.
Notice that the wing membrane is supported by those long fingers.
Yeah, but it's a different set of fingers than it's supported by in the pterosaur. So in the pterosaur, we only have one finger that supports the wing membrane, right? We have digit 4. So why is it that in bats, digits 1, 2, 3, and 4, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 all support the wing membrane? And digit 1 is significantly shorter to create just the trail or the leading edge of the wing. And we don't have the extensively lengthened metacarpals like we have in bats. What? Did God decide that his really cool pterosaur wing design just was too good for bats? Because I'll be honest, the pterosaur wing design is actually better than the bat wing design. They are more efficient on the ground than bats are. They're more efficient flyers than bats are, or they were more efficient flyers than bats are. Pterosaur wings are better than bat wings. Why is that? Well, under evolutionary biology, it's because evolution is contingent, right? Bats didn't get the same morphological mutations that pterosaurs did, and so when they developed wings, they did it differently. Pterosaurs got different mutations again, and so they also developed differently. And birds are another group that developed their wings differently. But under intelligent design, there's no reason to suspect that the designer wouldn't take the best design and simply paste it into all the animals. A prediction of actual intelligent design would be that there should only be one kind of tetrapod wing. Now, you can make an exception for insects because they're so vastly different that they don't even have bones. So how would you build, how would you bolt on a pterosaur or a bird wing onto an insect? You couldn't, because So they're vastly different in terms of biochemistry. So I'll give that a pass. But with the tetrapods, why don't they all have the best wing? Well, either the intelligent designer doesn't know what he's doing, or maybe it's because of the contingency of evolution. So, yeah.
And again, you see, then that means it's some ordinary land mammal, maybe.
Again, what's an ordinary land mammal?
Ordinary.
That's not a thing.
Be a rat-like creature, a squirrel-like creature, gradually evolved
It was nothing like a rodent. Bats are not very closely related to rodents.
into a bat as the fingers got longer and longer and longer, and the wing membrane had to be created, and flight muscles.
Man, if only we had mammals today with long membrane-connected fingers and maybe membranes stretching between their wrists and their ankles that currently glide and live in things like, I don't know, trees. You know, like if we had a flying squirrel or some kind of weird...
Flying squirrels, that's so silly. Squirrels don't fly.
or maybe if we had something from Australia that really liked sugar, we could call it like a sugar
Australia's
glider.
not even real.
Good point. Or maybe, what if we had things that are like, they're like almost primates, right? But they have big wing membranes on their hands, and they have the skin linked between their ankles and their wrists, and their ankles and the tips of their tails. And we could call them... Oh, what would be a good name for this weird group of hypothetical animals that would be cool if we had? What about...
Sounds fake.
Colugo. What we could call them Colugos. That would be a good name, right?
Fake.
Yeah. Too bad we don't have any of those things.
And all of these, and of course, in many bats, they have a sonar system.
Okay, but... Taking another drink.
Does the system have to do with anything?
Nothing. No one is suggesting that the first bats that evolved could echolocate. Echolocation is a thing that occurred more than once within Chiroptera, the group that includes all the bats, right? But it occurred after the acquisition of flight. This is dumb. There's no reason to talk about the sonar. And in fact, the patterns of how bat echolocation works is different in different lineages, indicating their separate origins, right? Like we have bats that produce the echolocating sound in their mouths, those that produce it in the larynx. We have bats that use different kinds of sweeping pitches to actually get information, that process it differently. Yeah. Mark Smith says, aren't there lemurs that glide? You're thinking of the flying lemurs, which is another term for Colugo. Now,
I know what... Well, the chat suggested what we could call, those creatures. Probably call them drop bears.
Drop bears, yeah.
Yeah, drop bears.
Definitely real things that you absolutely have to look out for when you go to Australia.
Terrifying.
Now, Pelagic Tuna Cat, sauropods sound like geckos, B2022, who's been a member for 4 months and is at the ambient level, says, I propose that we make the collective noun for eggplant an AIG, and then followed by a dapper, a tetrapod, way too many pelagic tunicates, but also a Godzilla, a Mothra, and a King Ghidorah. And when Pelagic Tuna Cat, sauropods sound like geckos, B2022, says collective noun for eggplant, I think we all know what is actually being meant there. We'll take a sip here. I'm okay with that being the collective noun. Better than with the collective noun for ravens. An unkindness. What do the ravens ever do? At least with crows, it's kind of metal. It's like, what's that group of crows? That's a murder. That's a murder of crows. Like, nice. Then you get to ravens, and it's just what did the ravens do?
If you befriend corvids,
you'll
find out quick.
They will steal for you.
They will. They'll introduce their little crow babies to you. You'll have intergenerational, crow armies. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Be nice to corvids.
You can train them to exchange, shiny objects for snack.
Or cash.
That's right.
Yeah. There's definitely stories about people who, they were giving bread to corvids in exchange for shiny objects, but then some of the corvids started bringing back cash, and so they got nicer treats. And then the corvids were like, oh, cash is what you want, huh? Okay, we'll get you cash. We got you. And then suddenly you're running the crow mafia.
They understand the economy. I'm just saying.
A method of echolocation whereby they send out a signal which ricochets off the object, come back and received by the bat, and he interprets that signal. And he can identify the object and its speed and its location.
Okay, but this is a separate question than the evolution of flight, Dwayne. Stick to the topic.
And he can receive his own signal and identify that signal among thousands of signals that are going out by other bats. A remarkable system.
It is remarkable. And cool thing, therefore evolution is fake is not a good argument.
That bats supposedly evolved during millions of years of time from some ordinary mammal.
No. They were, first,
Mary,
again...
what does that even mean?
We'll take another drink for ordinary mammal. I just can't with that. But no, echolocation evolved after the bats evolved to be flying animals.
I love what Savage Eric Hoven's Tie Collection Cobra says. Echolocation? Yeah, because his diction is very bad.
Yeah, it's weird that he was such a popular public speaker with such a sloppy diction. Like, I have better diction, like, several drinks in on these streams than Dwayne Gish has stone cold sober. And it's like, why is that? Now, look, okay, I'm going to hold open the possibility he might have had some kind of speech impediment, in which case, hey, you know, you play the hand you're dealt. That's okay. Doesn't seem like it, though. He doesn't have any obviously pathological...
Speech impediment as a kid. I went to speech therapy.
I'm sure that back when he was a kid, speech therapy was much less effective, though. So, if it was even available. So I don't want to be too harsh on him for that, but it doesn't sound like he obviously has a speech impediment. It sounds like he's just sloppy. Oh, and hey, look!
Maybe he's just forgot a noddle.
A transitional bat that had a claw on every single one of its wing digits, unlike modern bats, which only retain a claw on digit 1. And a bat that couldn't echolocate. And that had a really long tail, unlike most bats, which have short tails to reduce drag. It's almost like we're being shown a bat that's much, much more basal than any modern living bat, and that is in fact a transitional fossil. Now, is it smack in the middle where we would like it? No. Scott Duke says...
Transitional!
Scott Duke for $1.99 says, please explain the tier list of yummy snacks for crows. So, like many animals, they prefer things that are higher in fat, salt, and sugar. So, if you provide them with some seeds or some like wheat bread, they'll take it. But if you present them with like, you know, some pastries or some candies or even bits of candied meat, ooh boy, they'll take to that. Yeah.
Well, here we see on the slide a picture of the world's oldest known bat.
That's true.
This was taken from the cover page of Science, December 9th, 1966. Dr. Glenn Jepson, the author of the article, claimed that these fossilized bones that we see in the center of the slide were found in rocks 50 million years old. And he said...
Which is actually interesting in that it lines up with genetic analyses that said that the ancestors of bats and other Loraisotherians, which is the group to which bats and deer and horses and wolves and humans and rats all belong, that divergence actually occurred in the late Jurassic. And so, while we don't have any Jurassic fossils of bats, it looks like bats were taking over the nocturnal flying animal niches that the birds and the pterosaurs were not occupying. Just like today, where mostly bats are nocturnal and most birds are diurnal. That pattern looks like it was established all the way back in the late Cretaceous, which I think is really cool. And it's something that you can get when you have this evolutionary biology, methodological framework that you can use to estimate things like divergence times and things like that. But with Dwayne Gish, you can't make any cool inferences like that. He's like, the bats, I guess they just died in the flood, I guess, maybe. I don't know. Trail Mix for 690 says, AIG is a bag of diction. Nice, we'll take a drink for that. Strawberry Artificial Bootleg Edition for $10 says, I work from Strawberry Artery Official Bootleg Edition, my sincerest apologies, says, I worked from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. last night. My goodness. I'm for sure going to pass out before the end of the stream, so I'm going to say goodnight now. Be safe with a Godzilla, a heart, and a dapper, and Vishanti emoji. Thank you. So we'll take a drink for the Godzilla, and I hope that you have a wonderful day's sleep. Is that the appropriate term?
Don't have any daymares.
Look, I've done night shift jobs before, and I like how chill they are, right? Because, you know, the boss isn't usually there, and there's usually no, like, big, like, office politics to worry about. You just go in, you do the job, and there you go. But I will say, I do not like the degree to which it messes with my sleep schedule. Especially because at some of the times that I had night jobs, I was also helping to take care of some kids. Weren't mine, but were related to me. And my goodness, it's like, I get home and it's like, you know, like 8 a.m. and I've just worked for 10 hours. And I want to go to sleep, but a 3-year-old wants to scream a whole bunch. Great.
You catch me on the nightly news.
Ann Stevens for £5 said AIG ASDIC in the back. Take a drink. Thank you very much. Okay, here we go. If I can figure out where I put the window.
Nothing related to a bat has ever been found that's older than this.
I mean, it depends on what you mean related to. Like, we have older mammals, and they were related to bats.
I was going to say, don't we have ascendants of what that creature is? Like, what do you mean not related?
Yeah, like, you got to remember, evolution is going with this whole universal common descent, which means dinosaurs are related to bats. So, but even closer to that, we have placental mammals from the Jurassic period. So we definitely have older things than that are related. Now, are they more closely related to bats than to other extant mammals? We probably don't have anything in that category. So we probably don't have any stem bats beyond this one, right? So.
Mark Smith asks, I didn't know ceratosaurs cared for their young.
Well, first of all, yes, ceratosaurs do care for their young, but also these were related to me via my human adopted family. And these were human young. They were all weird.
Oh, ceratosaurs care for mammals.
Well, not normally, but when we have a mammal adopted family, then, you know, we can make exceptions. Yeah. It was also why I have been hesitant to watch Power Rangers in space until we got to that point in our Power Rangers watch through on the server, because one of them wanted to do nothing but watch Power Rangers in space over and over and over. And don't get me wrong, as far as Power Rangers go, I think it's a pretty good season. But on like the 4th watch through, I'm like, no, you don't have to stop watching Power Rangers, but we have to pick a new season. Let's watch the next season.
This says, and you didn't eat them?
No, I didn't.
You were tempted.
Oh, yes. All right, here we go.
And we see a reconstruction of what this bat must have looked like. All right? According to this evolutionist, here we have him, the world's oldest known bat.
Okay, I was about to say known, but he said it too, so good job, Dwayne. I appreciate that.
And what is he? 100% bat.
But with basal features that no modern bat has, like all those claws.
He's essentially identical to a modern bat.
No, that's just a lie. We're going to take a drink.
Hold up. No. You can't say it's 100% bat and then go, well, it's mostly like modern bat.
Right.
Like, nah. Nah, Dwayne.
Would you like to buy my Rolex watch? It's 100% a real authentic Rolex. Well, okay, when I say that, what I mean is that it's a real Relox watch, but it looks a whole lot like a Rolex watch. I feel like your initial statement was a bit misleading.
100% bat. It's almost exactly like a modern bat.
Yeah. Technically, this would actually be a stem bat. This isn't even a crown bat. Because remember, this is less related to any modern bat than any modern bat is related to any other modern bat. So technically, if you're going to go with bats are crown bats, this isn't even technically a bat. Now, I'm not going to be that much of a weird stickler, but you could make the argument.
He appears abruptly in the fossil record, and there is not a trace of an ancestor, not a trace of a transitional form.
Well, there are traces of ancestors. They're just not anything that's transitional between flying and non-flying. Pibblepunk, the ordinary mammal. Well, now we know what an ordinary mammal is like. It's like Pibblepunk.
Yep.
Says for 420. There you go. All right, well, you know what? We'll take a drink for 420. You might want to take a hit for 420. Dapper's our favorite extraordinary Archosaur. Thank you very much, Pibblepunk. I do appreciate that. All right, here we go.
Has ever been found. And essentially no change since he appeared in the fossil record supposedly 50 million years ago.
Yeah, except for, you know, changes in the portion of the hips, the thorax, the rib cage, the shoulder blades, the claws, the head, the tail. I mean, as long as you ignore all the actual changes that have occurred, then yeah, there's no changes.
Of how there's some people in the chat discussing your dapperness, and one person says that they'd accept a slovenly dinosaur.
Wow. Well, actually, I was thinking, now it's probably not going to come up right now because I think we're still 35 away from another feather video. But I was thinking that next time we hit the feather number, rather than just automatically defaulting to feather, I might put up a poll that says, hey, would you rather me be the Cyber Dapper, the Mecha Dapper, or feathers? So that way we could have people choose, right? Because I have more than one. I'm now at the point where, like, yeah, I have like 4 animated avatars that can just go into, you know, the not revolution. What am I trying to say? Rotation. That can go into rotation, right? And I want people to be able to choose which one they like the most. Which can still be the feather one, right? Like, if that's the one that people want, that's great. But I want people to have, like, the option. Like, oh, I want to see the, you know, the Cyber Dapper with the lightning and whatnot. So...
It's going to vote for feeders.
And that's fine, and they're allowed to, but I want to have the option open. So yeah, if we get another, I mean, I'll double check, but I think it's like 40 or 35 or something like that. I'll put up a poll rather than just automatically saying feeders. And then you can...
John Smith says, anime waifu dapper?
I don't currently have an anime waifu dapper avatar ready. I also don't currently have plans to make one. But, you know, it's not impossible. So, yeah. Oh, and for $2 Fade to Gray, checked by the copyright. Oh, this is another Armando Calvo classic. I was wrong. It's $54. Says AIG is a gross of AIGs in a dilapidated sack. Nice. Take a drink.
Dapper holding a body pillow.
Goodness. Oh, my drink's almost out. We gotta get going.
Oh.
Is that the evidence that we'd expect for evolution? Of course not. But isn't it remarkable?
Is the evidence we would expect for evolution the existence of a transitional bat that's transitional between the likely predicted anatomy of bat ancestors and modern bats, and that doesn't actually match any modern bats? Is that what would be predicted by evolution? In fact, yes. Yes, that is in fact exactly in line with what evolution would predict. Thank you.
Remarkably in accord.
Markel says it's just Dapper in a French maid outfit with cat ears.
Oh.
This is amazing.
Oh, man. Well, now I know what you guys are all imagining when you're, you know, alone in your rooms looking at Dapper Dinosaur content.
You know, honestly, we got to get you a Halloween costume. We've got plenty of time.
That's true. Although I'm not sure how to integrate it because, you know, all my October videos have already been in the can for months.
Well, for like, you know, your live stream, you have your little avatar that kind of moves around or whatever.
Yeah.
Powerful, positive evidence for creation. But the evolutionist says, just a moment. We have Archaeopteryx.
We've got a lot more than Archaeopteryx, but...
We got a lot more than that, I was going to say.
We do have this...
I have a really bad quality picture of one on my phone right now.
And actually, here's the thing. I want to leave Archaeopteryx for next time. I don't want to get into the bird thing right now. I think that's a better idea to just leave it for the next one, which might actually end up being the last one, because we only have just over 9 minutes left of this video. So what might happen is that we just say, okay, we're going to go through the 9 minutes, however long that takes. That's going to be the next Gish with Vish, is going to finish out this video. And we can talk about Archaeopteryx and whatever else he wants to talk about. We can talk about proto-birds, all that good stuff on the next one. which means that we are going to start wrapping this up. So, Vishanti, do you have anything you want to tell people about before we finally get out of here?
Oh my goodness. One more plug for Dr. Josh Bowen's book.
Yes. If any of my mods can put
This
the Amazon
brick-
link in the description, or not description, but in the chat, please do that.
This 650-something page brick, which is a great resource that I help do very light editing work on, and it's a great resource one-stop shop. That's my shilling for today. Buy this book.
Yeah. I mean,
You can also get it on Kindle for way cheaper.
Well, yeah, I've read, like I said, Vishanti and I went over the preprint manuscript for a while, and it is excellent. Now, I haven't read all the appendices, but knowing what's in them, I can't imagine that they're any less excellent. Mark Smith for $25 says, "Let's not call eggplants AIG. I don't want to have to say that I like AIG. Also, this should get us closer to feeders." It does get us closer to feeders. Thank you very much. I will report as to how close it gets us. $27 away. So, yeah, I will start, or it gets us $27 away from triggering the poll about whether we should do feeders, Mecha Dapper, or Cyber Dapper. So let me take a look at what's coming up here on the channel. Let's see. Next up, we have Lucy, Biped or Quadruped. 3 Ways to Lie About Human Evolution, Part 4 of 4. That will be on the 17th of August, 2023. It'll be the final part of the David Menton talk on human evolution, which, yes, I recognize I am not nearly as qualified to talk about this as, say, Erica is. However, I think I did an adequate job, and so far, she has not, apparated in front of me to berate me for how badly I did, which means I think I'm doing okay, because I fully expect that she would do that somehow if I screwed it up too badly. I would fully expect to just, suddenly, there's a gibbon in the room with me, yelling at me about how badly wrong I got, physical anthropology or something like that.
Screaming at you ooh, ooh.
Yeah. Just ear-splitting gibbon screams.
Yeah. Oh my god, that one heavy metal gibbon that's just the whole time. I love that video.
So that is the 17th. On Tuesday, the 15th, we will be doing the next Kent with Bent. Normally, this would have been a Matt with Maddie, but instead it ends up being a Kent with Bent because Maddie couldn't be here. Instead, we're going to do the Matt with Maddie on the 29th. But also, Regios for $30 says, "Been a while since Super Chatted or Gifted, so catching up a little. Thank you very much. That does, in fact, push us over the number. So we will be doing a poll.
Feeders! Everyone vote feeders.
The poll, look, vote what you want, feeders included. And yeah, so that poll will be coming out very shortly. So yeah, Kent with Bent on Tuesday. On Saturday, I'm hoping, Vishanti willing, that we will finish up this video by Dwayne Gish. Vishanti, what do you think? Sound like a good idea? Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you so much for everyone who super chatted, everyone who gifted memberships. I really appreciate it. It means a lot, especially since, like I said, for some reason, the algorithm has, June was really bad. July was a slight improvement in terms of the algorithm. And so far, August has been about the same as July. And it's why is this, YouTube? And I don't know. But I am trying my best to get around that problem. And so I really appreciate all the support. And we will see you guys later. If you are a member of my membership program or the Patreon, get yourself on the Discord, and we will be doing a Power Rangers watch party. We're going to watch 4 episodes of Power Rangers in Space. Once Bent Hoven gets back, he has to go take a quick trip to get someone, to basically bring someone home from work. And so after that,
I love what Fear Theist Monger says. Light a candle, say Australopithecus sediba 3 times, snap your fingers, and then there goes the Guts at Gibbon summoning ritual.
Yes. Oh, it does help when people hit Mark Smith. That really does help. Yep. All right, well, guys, thank you very much. We're going to get out of here, and I am going to get ready for the Power Ranger stream over on the Discord. I will hope to see all of you on Tuesday. Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Ben Tovind, Tapioca Weasel, Whispers, Elron Teller, Phil Havara, Ian Chen, Kelvin Brostick Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabbity Babbity, Monkey They Them, Mrs. Specsender, Sphincter of Doom, and the Venerable Bede. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.